UFO shot down an ICBM in 1964, according to alleged witness claims. It was, by the way, a flying saucer. It was shaped like a flying saucer with a ping pong ball on top. This is by Chris Leito via Portugal News on Bennett Reality. In September 1964, Dr. Robert Jacobs watched a short video that changed his life. Quote, I was part of a government cover-up for 17 years. I was the officer in charge of photographic instrumentation at Vandenberg Air Force Base from 1963 to 1966, end quote. Bob Jacobs said in an October 2021 press conference. He was in charge of a 100-man unit responsible for photographing and videoing top-secret intercontinental ballistic missile tests. Stationed in what is now Vandenberg Space Air Force Base near Los Angeles, California, his boss, Major Mansman, asked him to install a new super long-range video camera, a system north in Big Sur. The new theodolite or telescope could see with a clarity at 160 miles, that's 257 kilometers, and it was incredible. That's how high definition it was. This is what Jacobs described. Lieutenant Jacobs did as ordered. He took his team to Big Sur, a picturesque national park near Monterey in Central California, and he set up the massive new device. It proved much more capable than the previous system. On September 14, 1964, the missile launched from Vandenberg Air Force Base and headed towards its target, a tiny atoll in the Pacific Ocean. The payload of the missile was a dummy nuclear warhead. The launch tested a new chaff system to decoy Russian anti-nuclear missile systems. Flawless? The launch went flawlessly. Dr. Jacobs' team locked the missile right at launch. The old tracking system showed the rocket. The new massive telescope was also tracking nominally, even though the team could not see the live view because it used kinescope recording. They had radar tracking and knew the test was a success. Popped the champagne, everyone celebrated. They packed up and went back to the base. 2 days later, Major Mansman called Jacobs. Mansman said, Lieutenant, come to my office immediately. Jacobs went to strategic headquarters and reported as ordered. Quote, I'll describe to you what I saw, end quote, Jacobs said in October 2021 interview on Bob Sala's YouTube. He said, there's a table and a 16mm projector. On the wall was a daylight screen. There were two guys in gray flannel suits, men, and Major Mansman. Sit down, Lieutenant. I sat down, and Major Mansman said, now watch this. He flipped on the projector, and the most amazing thing happened. We could see the bottom 3 stages of the rocket clearly from 160 miles, or 257 kilometers away. The clarity was beautiful, and we watched it going through all 3 stages of flight. We could see it incredibly at a long distance, and it was headed for Quadrella. It was a dummy warhead. The test was to see if the new Atlas D nose cone missile system could put out chaff to decoy the Russian anti-missile systems. In the video, Jacobs watched the nose cone of the rocket flying in subspace, traveling 8,000 miles an hour. The nose cone opened as planned, and a metallic chaff cloud exited. The chaff cloud reflected in the sunlight. Then the warhead, shaped like a giant bullet, smoothly exited the nose cone and passed the chaff. The test was going as planned to this point. An object. Quote, then an object flew into the frame from the left, the same direction we had been going, end quote. This is what Jacobs continued. He said, it flew above the warhead and fired a beam of light at the warhead. It then flew in front of the warhead and fired another beam of light. It flew below the warhead and fired another beam of light. And then it passed behind the warhead, fired the 4th beam of light, and departed the same way it had entered the video. At that point, the warhead tumbled out of the field of view and the film stopped. Lieutenant Jacobs, Major Mansman said, were you guys screwing around out there? Jacobs said, no, sir. Mansman said, well then, what was that? Jacob said, "Looks to me like we've got a UFO." Mansman said, "You are never to say that again. As far as you're concerned, this never happened. You understand?" Jacob said, "Yes, sir." "I don't need to remind you of the seriousness of the security breach, do I?" "No, sir." "Okay, you are dismissed, Lieutenant." And as Jacobs walked to the door, Major Mansman followed him and leaned over to his ear. "If you are even being tortured over this, and you have to give them something, tell them it was laser tracking." The U.S. did not have laser tracking at the time. Lasers were still laboratory projects in 1964. Jacobs left and kept his mouth shut for 17 years. And then he realized something. His officer oath required he maintain secret information secret, but this was never classified. This never happened. Jacobs published his story in the National Enquirer. After that, his life changed. He started receiving threatening phone calls at his home. Someone bombed his mailbox and cursed him on the phone as it exploded. He moved his family to a small rural town. He lost a job because of it. Why lie? Quote, "Why would I lie about this? Why would Major Mansman lie about this? I've received no money. My family and I have been hassled. I've been ridiculed. Nothing good has come from this. But I continue to tell my story because it's important for people to know that governments do this type of stuff and hide information from their citizens who have a right to know. It was, by the way, a flying saucer. It was shaped like a flying saucer with a ping pong ball on top, and it was shooting out warheads with a beam of light from the ping pong ball." End quote. But he was ordered to cover it up, and he did. What happened to the film? Mansman later revealed what happened to the film. After Jacobs left, the two men turned to Mansman. Quote, "I don't need to explain to you, understand the seriousness of a security breach, do I?" End quote, said one of the men. Mansman said, "No, sir." The men then cut out the part of the film with the saucer and put it in a briefcase and left. And this never happened, supposedly. This is by Chris Leto, Portugal News on Embedded Reality. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.